Hi, Ehraz. First of all, I just want to appreciate you for this whole film. So I wanted to just share. It's not a question. When I was seeing the film, through half the film, my brain was literally dissociated from the fact that this is actually happening. Uh, Living in Bombay, my problems are more like, oh my God, local train late ho raha hai monsoon mein. And like having to see this issue in a university is like extremely shocking. And the way you've documented it, it's really beautiful. And it there's a lot of personal questions that come up in my mind where if this had to happen around me, how would I cope? What would I do? And it's just bro, you've really achieved that in me. And yeah, thank you so much for building this kind of soul touching moment for me and also raising awareness about this.
Knows very well who are the likely people who could be in leadership or could do such things. So if they wanted to, they could have talked to the students and seen to it that things don't come to a head. But that's not the main point here at all. It was very well a targeted attack to teach a lesson that you don't even have the right to protest.
In present, as I'm saying कि it's been long, तो हमें ये समझ में नहीं है कि इससे एग्जैक्टली क्या हार्म हो रहा है. क्या आप लोगों ने कुछ ऐसा सोचा है कभी कि इससे हार्म क्या होने वाला है, उसके ऊपर कुछ एक
Acha, okay. So actually, in the first cut that I had prepared, there was a small segment in the film that initially where we tried to explain the law, but it was like the film had become 1 hour and 30 minutes, so we had to almost 30 minutes, so we had to cut down a lot. But like when we made that decision, we assumed that the viewers who will watch the film, they'll go home and do their own research and study up on the law, and so that's why we didn't include it. But after watching the film, go home and then read up on the laws. And there are so many articles and there are so many videos available on YouTube where the lawyers are explaining like the repercussions of these laws. And I think, I mean, there's no one better than them to understand what will happen if these laws do actually come. So yeah.
जस्ट मतलब ऐड करना चाहती हूँ कि जिसके पास अभी काफी जगहों पे आइडेंटिटी प्रूफ नहीं होता है, काफी जो मतलब रूरल कम्युनिटीज है, रूरल कम्युनिटीज क्या है, यहाँ पर अर्बन कम्युनिटीज में भी काफी लोगों के पास आधार कार्ड नहीं होता है, प्रूफ नहीं होता है. तो अगर कल लोग बोले कि आप इंडियन सिटीजन है वो ही नहीं, आप मुसलमान हो, आप यहाँ का सिटीजनशिप आप नहीं ले सकते हो, तो दैट लॉ कैन अफेक्ट देम एज वेल.
Like, I mean, I don't want to target you or anything, I'm very sorry, but I think the documentary was obviously about CA, and I think he explained a little bit about it, but it was also about police brutality. So when you ask, like, I'm just saying in general, when anybody asks, like, the legal action that police took, I'm just using your words, not targeting you or anything, then do you see that? Is that legal in any way? Here we are questioning police brutality as well. And again, coming about CA and NRC, you said like the problem is there in Mumbai, it's almost everywhere, right? But here we are talking about a government, someone in people in power who do not feel for Muslims or leave feeling for Muslims. They do not even consider Muslims as equal citizens. So one thing that we didn't talk about, or it was not there in the documentary, the NRC angle. Like what we saw in Assam, like people, when the NRC came out, like what happened? There were people who were left out of, they were not considered as citizens, or they were just not on the list. Again, if that happens to Muslims, when Muslims are not on the list, CA will include everyone but Muslims and Jews. What will you do then? What will your government do then? So again, I would like to say this is just unfair. So I think he included what he was supposed to. I'm sure this is a good suggestion. He can include more, but
And I heard a little bit of your statement when you were talking about like, of course, you were saying that there was some agitation from the student side as well. That's why this all happened. I mean, all of us were there that night, and we all know how this cycle works. You know how they try to, when you're actually when you're in the protest, how they try to agitate you purposefully so that it can become like that whole, so that they can go in and then try to control you and whatever. So this is not black and white ke, it's not that simple ke students ने किया उसके वजह से फिर पुलिस ने किया. And even if I think there's a point in the documentary as well where Varda, one of the interviewees, she says that even if students did try to, sort of get out of the gate, the moment students disperse, your job is done. You don't have to go into the university and literally witch hunt every single student who is there. You don't have to do that. It was like, making a point, ke, this is what will happen to you if you try to raise your voice or if you try to agitate against us. So I think it's unfair to assume that okay, students did something after watching the film. I mean, it's a bit sad that you're saying such things. But anyways, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that in the act, the fact that they've included Jews is a dhakosla, because there are no Jews who are trying to come back into India from some foreign country. When you think Israelis are trying to get Indian citizenship because they're Jews and they wanted to come back to India, that is purely because they didn't want to say only Muslims will be kept out. So they added Jews who are virtually non-existent in India.
Yeah, and this whole angle of giving the government benefit of doubt, even after they've done so many things, is just ridiculous. I mean, you can't say that this is just we are just assuming that okay, when these laws comes, these things will happen. No, I mean, there's just a lot of proof that this is their very intention to exclude us, from the citizenship of this country. So it's ridiculous to just give this government benefit of doubt.
I mean, just in order to kind of continue this point, I just want to add that any university, when there is agitation, is either going to happen or bound to happen. Administration knows very well who are the likely people who could be in leadership or could do such things. So if they wanted to, they could have talked to the students and seen to it that things don't come to a head. But that's not the main point here at all. It was very well a targeted attack to teach a lesson that you don't even have the right to protest. What struck me most is that the kind of exhaustive footage that is there in the film, also of Jamia and also, of course, of your university, and with the age of 24/7 TV, if there was any footage that was available on TV of what actually happened, or at least the next day come and talk to you people, have you even come across such footage, or is it just that you chose not to include it because it just, to me, it is very clearly the complete blindness to what happened in JNU and Jamia, so that people should not know what happened.
Yeah, no. So Jamia, when it happened, there are I think fairly enough sort of news footage around it, but I don't think on major channels there was anything which covered AMU's violence. More so because I mean they both happened at the same time, and because Delhi being the capital, a lot of the media sort of attention, of course, went to Jamia. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to make the film, because we thought that the extent of violence in Aligarh Muslim University was in some sense bigger than Jamia, and our university didn't get any of the media coverage except for like few here and there. There were few videos on YouTube or articles on internet. So yeah, I mean there was just complete blindness towards the incident, and I think the next day, the next morning, a lot of media, they weren't allowed to also enter the campus and look around the university. So that was also one of the reasons why there's complete blindness towards this whole incident.
Thanks. The song was really nice. The last song.
Yeah, thank you so much. We were really lucky to have that song. We went to Jantar Mantar to shoot, and there was this group that had come there, and we recorded our own version of the song, and then we went to them and asked for their consent. So they asked us to play the song, and we played it, and it was just a bad recording, like just shitty recording. So then they were just very kind enough to give like a pre-recorded version of that song. So yeah, it was just like a beautiful coincidence.
Hi, Ehraz. Amrik here.
Hi.
First of all, amazing film, amazing documentary, so powerful. My question was about the craft. and also, I mean, of course, when I mentioned the craft, how the craft and the politics go together. What caught my eye and what made me interested, hooked me to the film, was how you decide to open the film. It's with a very beautiful look at the Aligarh Muslim University, and it's like an advertisement, and then bang, it's interrupted by the police firing and the protests. As an audience, it puts us into a place of discomfort and really sets the right mood for the film.
So like this whole segment, the opening, it wasn't there in the first cut. So and I showed this film to few of my friends who are not from Aligarh Muslim University, and like one of them said that even after watching the whole film, he doesn't have any idea what the university actually looks like, because I mean, of course, there are no footage of us going through the university except for this footage where where someone is going on a bike and you're following it, but it's mostly covered by text. So he said that he doesn't have any idea of what this university look like, so it was difficult for him to kind of uh, quote unquote root for us, for the students. So then I just had this idea, okay, maybe if I start with this is stock footage of, so basically this footage is it was the mass comm department of AMU. They shot this whole thing, and it's for the review of NAC, which comes every, I think, 2 or 3 years, and they like give a rating to a college. So we took that and we decided to like it's kind of symbolic to how that incident has shaped students post 2019. And it was, I mean, of course there were a lot of problems in university, but it's just like a metaphor. Okay, so this is how you perceive a university should look like. It has library, it has sports complex, it has this beautiful campus, and then this is what you actually do with students who are trying to raise voice against you and against your injustices. So that was the whole idea.
हाँ, एक चीज बोलनी थी मुझे, वो प्रश्न नहीं था उसके ऊपर, लाइक इसके डॉक्यूमेंट्री के ऊपर, लेकिन एक चीज के ऊपर ऐसे कॉम्प्लीमेंट देना था कि मैंने बहुत ही कम डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज देखी है, लेकिन ये लाइक वन ऑफ द फ्यू डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज है जहाँ पे लाइक कोई नरेटर नहीं रहता है कि कोई ऐसा कुछ बोल रहा है। सिर्फ जिन डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज लाइक ऐसे जैसे माइकल मोर की मैंने देखी है, सो वो कैसे खुद एक्ट करते हैं और फिर वहाँ पे पूरा स्टोरी को आगे बढ़ाते हैं और जो टॉपिक्स है वो एक्सप्लेन करते हैं, लोगों का इंटरव्यूज लेते हैं। यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ नहीं था कि सिर्फ जो लोग के साथ जो हुआ था उनके बारे में ही लाइक ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री थी, और वही कहानी को आगे बढ़ा के लेके जा रही थी। सो ये एक लाइक एक बोल सकते कि फ्लो था, वो काफी अच्छा लगा था मुझे। सो आई जस्ट वांटेड टू कॉम्प्लीमेंट यू ऑन दैट।
Thank you so much for making this film, Ehraz. My name is Ipshita. Really powerful documentary. I'm just curious, what have been the reactions of different kinds of diverse audiences who might have seen this film, not just people who already somewhere lean to the left, but others as well, because what seems to have happened, even with the kind of comments we've even seen in this room, it feels like the uncleification of India is so complete in the last few years, and the right-wing politics cuts into that very patriarchal feudal idea that students need to study, and somehow politics and studies is so far away from each other. Those kinds of ideas have cemented so strongly, and people just can't see beyond it. So I'm curious to see what are the reactions that you've had to this film, and have there been any changes of opinion?
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and watching my film. So like this is the first public screening outside of festivals. And all the festivals that it has traveled to, that they've mostly been free, quote unquote, free from right wing in that sense. So I haven't had the chance to publicly screen it outside of festivals. I mean, festival में तो ये होता है कि there's only particular kind of audience, and you get only like आप उन्हीं लोगों से बात कर रहे हो जो already आपके side हैं, तो it's much easier. But public screening अभी हुई नहीं है इतनी. Like this is the first public screening, and I'm glad that so many of you are here. And I'm trying to publicly screen it, and I did try to screen it in Delhi, but last minute there was just some issue, so it had to be cancelled. And so I'm just looking for venues, and I'm trying to contact universities to actually screen it. I haven't been able to screen it in my own university, I mean, Liga Muslim University and Jamia as well. So that speaks a lot more about like what's going inside this country. So yeah, I mean, I'm just as curious as you know, to see like how it cuts through that mindset, but it hasn't happened yet.
So it was really like that senior professor. Even I felt I've been crying, and I don't think so I can sleep for the next few weeks. And what's the solution? I'm a Vipassana meditator. The only thing I understand that if we have to come out with something, what can be done? Have you thought of anything, any suggestions? All of us, collectively, we have to think of how can we stop it? What can be done? That's the question.
I think creating a dialogue is, at a personal level, that's the least you can do. I think creating a dialogue within, just within your family, within your society, your loved ones. That's, I mean, if you do that much, then I think the ripple effect will be, like will do wonders. I'm hoping. Like I'm, as Baba Sahib said, educate, agitate, organize. So I think that's the way to go. Talk to people, try to understand them, and I think it's more a responsibility. I mean, Muslims are of course doing that because they're on the other end of the violence. So of course we have to do it, but it's also the responsibility of people who come from the privileged class, from the oppressed class, to go and actually talk to people, talk to your family, and try to understand where they're coming from, and to battle this whole hate and propaganda. So yeah, I mean, that's the only way I see. And of course, whenever there's protest, of course, I think we should all participate in large numbers. Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on the fact, first of all, kudos to you and your team. I cannot imagine
Thank you.
what you must have, had to go through, relive the memories when you were, making this documentary. It is really, really hard. Also, what you just mentioned, talking to family, that seems like a really uphill climb right now, because it's very hard to get the point across. But only one thing that I wanted to comment on, कि जो मुझे हर बार लगता है कि especially this is coming from personal experience, कि हम जब ऐसे documentaries देखते हैं, we feel sympathetic, we feel really sad about the situation in our country, and then we go home. And that's the end of it. And we forget to question the whole idea of policing, because right now it's not affecting me. So I have the privilege of feeling sympathetic and forgetting about it. So I just wanted to reiterate that just because something is not affecting you does not mean it will not reach you. And we really need to question, what policing means to us as a community as a whole, and not just, one section of a community. But again, congratulations. And I hope that you get to, publicly screen your documentary. It's really a lot of hard work, a lot of painful memories. So thank you so much.
Hey, you're not in the room, but I would like to hear how people are, curious to get this mic and speak their thoughts. So I think the film has done that job. Even if they don't know about topic, if they know about topic, everyone is, the film did what it was supposed to do.
I'll say two things. One is that this was so inspiring. I think as a student to watch this, I just wanted to know that knowing how repressive state mechanisms are and university administrations are, I think the fact that you made this film is just genuinely so inspiring and very, very brave of you and your teammates and the entire crew and the people in the film. And also, I would want you to know that when this was happening in AMU, a lot of us were in DU back then. And you're right that, JNU and Jamia were like way more in like the public eye in that case. But I think hum log ka bahut ji jala tha when this was happening. Like it was such a fuming moment, and I'm like, I wish this never happened, but I'm just very, very proud of like the way you all protested and the way you were all there. And secondly, on just like a moment in the film, I really like the ending of it, because I think usually like when documentaries end or when a film ends, you usually want to end it on a high note or like give it some sort of closure. But I think the fact that it was just like an empty stage and people were leaving and there was music playing showed that that's exactly how protests also work, or like life also works, right? There's a big moment, there's a moment of wrapping things up and starting all over again. So I think it gave that sense of like calm in the end that things are yet to start again. So very, very good job, and just very proud of you guys. Yeah.
Hi, Ehraz. First of all, I just want to appreciate you for this whole film. So I wanted to just share. It's not a question. When I was seeing the film, through half the film, my brain was literally dissociated from the fact that this is actually happening. Uh, Living in Bombay, my problems are more like, oh my God, local train late ho raha hai monsoon mein. And like having to see this issue in a university is like extremely shocking. And the way you've documented it, it's really beautiful. And it there's a lot of personal questions that come up in my mind where if this had to happen around me, how would I cope? What would I do? And it's just bro, you've really achieved that in me. And yeah, thank you so much for building this kind of soul touching moment for me, and also raising awareness about this, because I didn't know about this to this depth. And I'm really basically educated about it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely compliment. Yeah, it even came as a shock for me and some of my teammates because I wasn't a hostler. I was living outside. So as we were researching and editing the film, there was just so many information that we were just shocked that this happened in our university, and there was just no mention of it, and how all these different institutions work together to sort of quash that movement, our voices and everything. So someone mentioned earlier that how we must have felt like stressful or anxious while making the film, but as we were researching, it was just anger. We were just feeling like we were just full of rage at like how can you let something like this happen with students who are literally 20 years old and just they're just trying to understand the world. So we were just very angry and yeah. Thank you. That was such a lovely compliment.
So I really like the guy, I don't remember his name, with glasses at the end, who's talking about how evaluating what happened, what we have to do in the future. The fact is that we cannot expect the government to protect us. So we have new ways to find new ways to secure ourselves when we do, but we have to protest. So what is can we talk about that? Because we're all in that boat. We're all in a boat where we have to protest. We have to figure out a strategic way of doing it so that we stay as safe as we can be, but yet not be crushed and silenced.
So yeah, I mean, he puts it really well. He's a friend of mine, and I just remember that when I was taking that interview and that when he started talking about all these things, so I also had the same. I started thinking about what can be done. I mean, um, we have to. There's no. You can't not protest, of course. I mean, for a healthy democracy to work, you have to go out there. You have to call out government. You have to, be at them and just basically call out their whatever their injustices, their wrongdoings. But I think at the same time we have to be a little bit more careful in that sense. To not because of course it can have repercussions on our life as well, but it can affect the community that you're coming from, especially in our case also, because now to uh, the like government thinks after BJP, all Muslims are Muslims. That's it. There's no other identity that we have. We have just been reduced to that the Muslim identity. So whenever I mean, I used to talk this with a friend. Okay, whenever we go on stage, whenever we go to protest, it's not. I think a little bit. There's a little bit of responsibility on our shoulders, in that sense too, because if something happens in that sense to us, it won't just reflect badly on an individual level. People will go and target the whole community, as it happens with most marginalized community. If a Muslim man does something, Twitter and Instagram just goes after the whole Muslim community. If a Dalit man does something, then you know, the cycle continues. So I think we just have to be a bit more responsible for what we say, for our actions. And I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no other way. We have to protest. We have to go out there. Yeah.
So I would say rather than careful, we have to be strategic, because we know that they are trying to, I mean, I say we, I'm not a Muslim, but anybody who's not a Muslim, but who understands what's going on in the country is equally, maybe not equally, but is at risk also, because is also suppressed. Our voices are not being allowed to be heard either. Uh, and I remember talking to Umar Khalid in 2016 when I was making Reason, and talking about that, and I think he actually took it on board. And if you look at all his speeches, he's talking about non-violence throughout. He's always talking about protests. There's nowhere, you can't find an Umar Khalid speech where he's in a sense actually being incendiary. He's talking about protest, but he's talking about non-violent protest, which we have a right to do, which Mahatma Gandhi did, which to a large extent brought independence. So I think that is the direction that perhaps we can move in, that we do everything in a way where we put the repressors on the defensive, in terms of we give them no chance to say that you are some crazy radical.
Yeah, no, I think you put it extremely well. We have to be strategic, and you know, we have to look out after our own people and make sure that they're safe in whatever way possible. Yeah.
NHRC belongs to the government, unfortunately.
You know, the NHRC chief right now issued a statement when Modi was in America, and lot of protest was happening against Modi, that everybody has equal rights in the country, and that he is a Muslim and he doesn't feel he is discriminated against. Everything that others in the country have, he also has. That's a statement the NHRC chief just now made. Just few days, count fingers and look at when he said that. So if NHRC is that, couldn't they have known about this? What about
They did. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. You know more.
So after this incident, the HC did ask NHRC to conduct a report of the whole incident. And if you go on Google, and if you look up NHRC report 15 December, you will get it. And there were a lot of articles written on it. One of my friend also explained the whole report, and basically in the report they did call out few actions of the police, but they at the same time they also tried to blame the students. So it was a very neutral sort of approach, trying to say what someone in the screening also said, okay, something must have happened, some student must have done something, so that's why the police came after them. So it was that sort of approach where you try to sort of call out both the sides to hide the wrongdoings of police. You can read it. I think it's available on Google.
So a really great film. I really enjoyed it. Could you tell us more about the authorities who were there at the time? They were clearly had a role. They were responsible for what happened. Have they been held accountable? Do they still continue to reign supreme in AMU, or have they been penalized, or in any way? Has anything happened with them?
No, nothing has happened to them. They have been given a clean sheet, because as you saw in the film, the VC was directly responsible for this. So if he is if he has brought in these police, there's no one who can call the VC out, and call the vice chancellor and the pro vice chancellor out. So there's no action that's been taken against them. All the professors who were quote unquote, with students. Of course, they can't do anything because they teach and they're on a payroll from the government, so they are government employees. But there was no protest as such against them, because after that the university was shut down and everyone had to go home. And it was purposefully shut down so that there could be no protest, and it continued to remain shut down till February of 2021. uh, no, sorry, till March of 2021. It opened for a few days, but by that time, all the supposedly leaders who were sort of, leading that movement, they had been penalized by the university, not let alone the government. They were being witch hunt by the university as well. So that was a big shame, and it's a shame that nothing has been done against them, and they're just yeah,
That's
scot free
really
there.
appalling. Yeah, really appalling. And what about the people who
Yeah.
protested? Like, is this been one of those things? Because, something like this can really break you. I mean, you are trying to fight for something. And if you are treated and beaten up like this, I mean, what about the students who were there that night? I mean, I mean, where are they at? I mean, you can't make a blanket statement, but did they go on, finish their degrees? Did they, I mean, are they activists? Was it just like, have they all gone into hiding or?
Some of them have gone into hiding, and rightfully so. And I can talk about my friend who's also in the film, whose identity we decided to conceal. So he was trying to it was his last year of bachelor's, and he was trying to apply for master's. But because of that incident and because his name is in the FIR, he can't get a passport, and now he has to stay here. So I mean, just things like this have happened to all the people who were there. There was also this whole thing that um, students whose bike were like parked inside the campus, they were also they got the notice. Some of their names were in the FIR. So I mean, it was just like a proper witch hunt, like just trying to set an example of the students. And because of that, I mean, once the movement dies down, it's very difficult to sort of get it up again. And then COVID happened, so that was also like a major factor of why there was no protest. But yeah, I mean, everyone has had to face consequences. Some women students who were part of the protest, their families, they had to face consequences from their families, and they couldn't pursue whatever the degree they wanted to, or go outside AMU. So that things like this have happened, and yeah, it's a sad state.
Yeah, very sad. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with us. It was really powerful. Thank you.
I just want to say that it was a brilliant film. We are really proud to have you with us.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, it's really an honor because when we were making the film, your work really came up in our discussions, and I personally drew a lot of inspiration from your work. So it's just an honor to have my film being screened here.